Rev up your engines!
Well, here we go with even more problems with Ram and Jeep since Stellantis took over. Ram and the Jeep 5.7-liter e-torque system is under investigation. Owners have been complaining that they lose power, they shift into park, and apply the emergency brake by themselves. Oh, let's see. Put all these electronics and things. What a brilliant idea, right? Imagine you're driving on the road and the thing just decides to put itself in neutral, put it in park, put the emergency brake on when you're not expecting it. Now, the NHTSA says currently there's 80 complaints about it. They said the engine would shut off, often while traveling at low speeds, causing the vehicle to shift into park and engage the emergency brake. Sometimes they couldn't even be restarted. And sometimes they had a low voltage condition fault on the dash, and then you couldn't start the vehicle because it didn't have enough voltage. Now, it's bad enough that they had a previous recall of the 2021 Ram 1500s where software problem caused incorrect fuel mixture so the engine would stall. This is a different problem. This is even worse. Now, this could affect 150,000 vehicles. They're investigating it now. It's not a recall yet, but it just shows the crappy quality of what's happening to Ram and Jeep since Stellantis took over. The Europeans don't know what they're doing with American vehicles, right? Make them as cheap as you can. Come on, run them out. People will buy them. Make them as cheap as you can. And now they wonder why their sales are way down on these things this year. Well, guess what? You're making crap, and I'm warning everybody, don't buy their crap, or you'll be stuck with things like, oh, my car just decided to stop, put itself in park, put the emergency brake on, or it just stopped running while I was going down a highway. Their quality actually was going up when Mercedes bought them, and they were Daimler Chrysler. But Mercedes lost so much money in the deal when they got rid of it, then Fiat bought it. They started to go down like this, and now the quality is going kind of down like that. Now, here's some hilarious ramifications of not making the own parts for your own car. GM's Wentzville plant has to shut down production because Lear Corporation, which makes parts for them, isn't supplying the part they need. Now, strangely enough, Lear Corporation makes the seats for the vehicles that they make. In this GM plant, they don't have the seats. Guess what? They can't make the vehicles. What are they going to do? Deliver them with no seats and say, oh, we'll give you seats later, right? Like they did in the coronavirus. They didn't have enough chips, right? Well, then they delivered the cars and they said, we'll put the chips in and that other stuff later. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. But you're going to have a hard sell selling somebody a vehicle that doesn't have any seats in it, right? Well, now that the Lear company is on strike, not making the seats, that's prevented 4,500 employees from continuing production at GM in Wentzville. GM, you should have learned from Henry Ford ages ago. Make all your own stuff, then you're in control of it. You got other people bringing you seats for your own vehicles. They don't show up. Then, of course, why do they do it? Because it's cheaper that way. And then every time there's a problem, they can't make their cars. Do these idiots at GM ever think of anything? Gee, well, you know, these seats, well, we don't make the seats. It's another company that makes it. They're a company that's supposed to be making vehicles. You'd think they'd make the seats for their own vehicles, but no, they don't. And now they're stuck because the seat company's on strike, and they can't build anything, and all these people are out of work until the strike stops at that plant, and they can get the seats. Get yourself some vertical integration. You control all the stuff, and it isn't coming from here and there and everywhere else. And then when there's a problem, you can't make the stupid vehicles. Now, here's why companies shouldn't outsource their workers. A security firm in the United States discovered that one of their remote workers was really a North Korean hacker. Well, in this case, the security company Know Before, well, they didn't know before, did they? They mistakenly hired a North Korean hacker. And here's the hilarious thing. This Know Before company, what does it do? It develops security awareness programs to teach employees about phishing attacks and cyber threats. Then they hire a North Korean spy, and they start throwing stuff on there. I'm telling you, this farming stuff off overseas, you know, it's not good for Americans. You need American jobs here. You don't need to pay some Korean guy to do it. And it's a North Korean, so he was a commie. He was trying to get stuff, pull a fast one, right? And here's a hilarious thing. This company, Know Before, recently hired this guy, and he cleared interview and background check process. The moment the guy got this Mac computer, it started to download all this malware. We don't need to be farming this stuff off. Give Americans jobs, please. I think you get your just desserts Know Before by not hiring an American in the United States, instead sending a computer out to some Korean guy who ends up being a spy. Now, here's one I can't resist. Million mile EV battery bet pays off for Mercedes-Benz. Okay, Mercedes-Benz invested in this company, and this company claims now they can make a battery pack for cars that's going to last 1,000,000 miles. Now, of course, it doesn't exist yet in a Mercedes or in any car for that matter, right? They're saying, we can get one that goes 1,000,000 miles and it'll still have 70% charge left. Blah, blah. Well, let's see. To begin with, this is Mercedes-Benz, okay? Maybe it's going to cost $1 million for the electric car with EV pack. Let me tell you something. Mercedes-Benz is having one heck of a time selling their electric cars, even in Europe. Nobody wants electric Mercedes. They cost too much. They know how much it costs to fix Mercedes. They know it's a new electric vehicle. It's going to have teething problems. They're going to have to deal with all that crap. Hey, maybe that's why they put out this news flash. Said, oh, we're going to have cars that have batteries less than 1,000,000 miles. Yeah, well, nobody's buying the ones you have now. I don't think this PR stunt's going to work either. Now, in the United States, federal laws, the EV batteries have to be guaranteed for 8 years or 100,000 miles, right? Well, imagine if you had a car and after 8 years or 100,000 miles, the major component went bad, because in that car, the major component is the electric battery. In a regular car, it's the motor and the transmission, which serves the same purpose as the electric motor in the vehicles. The electric motors generally don't have that many problems. In electric vehicles, it's the batteries that wear out and then cost a fortune, like in a Tesla, 25 grand to replace a battery, right? So 8 years or 100,000 miles, that's not that great of a guarantee when you think about it. Now, this company's called Firasis. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's far away before these will ever actually be in cars. Everybody always promises these new batteries. This one, 1,000,000 mile battery. Now, they don't know what's going to happen after 10 years or 1,000,000 miles. They're testing things out, and they're testing them under laboratory conditions, and they haven't been testing them for 10 years either. Their 1,000,000 miles is just a test, not in an actual vehicle going 1,000,000 miles, but scientific tests in a laboratory, right? There's a big deal between the lab and the real world. Just like there's a big difference between the EPA gas mileage ratings and what you actually get on the road in most cases. I wouldn't hold my breath on a 1,000,000 mile battery, especially if it's going to be in a Mercedes-Benz. It probably would cost $1 million. Well, what's happened to the real truck men? There are only 2 pickup trucks left in America with a manual transmission. The Jeep Gladiator and the Toyota Tacoma. That's it. Everything is automatic transmissions now. And let's face the facts, in a pinch, a standard transmission's better for a big old truck. You get stuck in the mud, whatever. I mean, sure, they got all kinds of computer gizmos and automatic transmissions. But guess what? If your wheels start spinning in the mud, you're going to burn out an automatic transmission, and you're not going to bother manual transmission, right? It's just that the companies decide, we don't want to make them anymore. And of course, if you look at overall America, 96% of the people now drive automatic transmissions. Hardly anybody drives a manual transmission, but kind of bizarre, they only pick up the Jeep Gladiator with a manual, and they hardly sell any of those anyways. They're so expensive. And the Toyota Tacoma at least still has a manual option. They can last forever. Maybe that's one of the reasons they don't want to sell them. They don't want something that lasts forever. They want to sell you one of these crappy Ford 10-speed automatics that's going to break when it gets old, then you got to spend a fortune fixing it or buy another truck. Hey, part of it's planned obsolescence. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that one. They're really trying to push things with electric vehicles, especially now. Pioneer Lab hybrid helicopter meets engines and electric motors that will power it. Okay, so they're taking a regular helicopter and they're turning it into a hybrid. Okay, so it's part jet engine, part hybrid. It may save 30% of the fuel. Okay, at least for once they're being somewhat honest. You cannot have an electric battery-powered helicopter. Helicopters are extremely inefficient machines. They use a ton of fuel, helicopters. They're fuel hogs. And if you had an electric battery and a regular heavy helicopter that can hold a bunch of people, it's not going to be going very far, right? So now at least they're saying, well, let's put a hybrid system in. Now, yeah, so maybe they'll be 30% more efficient. Now, this is just starting. It's not an actual helicopter made from scratch. It's a helicopter that already exists that they're putting the system into. They better, well, fix this thing perfectly before they start selling it and using it to fly the public around, because if the hybrid breaks down, it better be foolproof, because if it breaks while you're flying up in the air, it comes crashing down. Helicopters aren't the most aerodynamic things on Earth. They lose their power supply. Down you go. So at least they're not touting, we're going to have an all-electric helicopter soon. No, they aren't. They use too much energy, and maybe the hybrid ones will get better gas mileage, right? But it's not a radical change, right? It's still going to be using aviation fuel for most of its traveling capability. Helicopters are very convenient vehicles for many things, rescuing people. I took one in Alaska to go see a glacier. You get there real fast, smooth. It was great, right? But would I get in one if it was an all-electric helicopter going to Alaska in the middle of nowhere? I don't think I would want to try that one out, right? Maybe a hybrid, but certainly not one that's powered by battery alone. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.